for this day. Thank you for this opportunity you've allowed us to be together. And Lord, I thank you for each of our board members who love our community and love our students, Lord. And I thank you for just their support. And I ask that you would be with us during this meeting as we make decisions for our students and our staff, and that we would make them to the best of these decisions to the best of our ability. Lord, we thank you. We praise you. We ask you to bless our time together. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. So we have no guests today, so the minutes of the last meeting, as well as the agenda for today's meeting, are included in our packets. Do I have a motion that we approve both documents at this time?
I make a motion.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Joanne. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Moving right along to old business, have an update on the mobile panic alert system.
Yes, sir. So we have, as I told you, we have been doing some shopping, and we have finally landed with a company called Navigate 360, and they provide a complete suite of emergency management system. They'll have the badge alerts that all of our staff will be able to wear to to basically like a panic button. We're in the process of customizing how we want it to work in our district, and so Robert has done a whole lot of work on the back end as far as the syncing our data with Power School and with their company. He's also been working with this company on a visitor management platform, and that's where if someone comes in to sign a child in or sign them out, or if they're there as a volunteer or visitor, all of that will go through a computerized system that's also linked to the sex offender website. So it will send an alert to that office staff if somebody happened to show up and scan their name in, that they're not supposed to be there, but also giving us a centralized place to house that. But we're looking forward to moving forward in the panic alert system in hopes to, my goal was to have something in place by the fall. But fingers crossed, we may be ahead of the game and may have it ready to roll out that first week of school or that first week when teachers come back. But again, there's a lot of things that have to take place before that, before it gets ready, and some training that we're going to have to do to make sure everybody's ready. But we're ahead of schedule in getting some of our tasks done that they've asked us to do. And again, Robert has done a lot of work on the back end, syncing our data. So looking forward to kind of sharing some more about that with you. As far as legislation, it has passed that we need to have that in our school districts, and they said the State Department is going to give us money for that, but nobody at the State Department knows where that's going to come from. So I did ask, that was one of the items that I had asked or told you at our last meeting that Ms. Donna will get to in a minute, that I'd like for her to include in our budget for next year, so that we're ready to cover that if the state is not prepared to give us any money on that, because we were already, we had already been looking at back in the summer and even in August at getting a system like this, and so before it became law, we were already moving forward with this. So anyway, so we're doing well on that and looking forward to having that in place and ready for when our folks come back.
Okay. Any questions for Ms. Hart? All right. Seeing none, let's move to our departmental business. Ms. Donna, you are up first.
First, we have our monthly report. Did you get those? Did I get those to you? I don't know. Yeah, but it's March ending. Our ideal remaining percent is 25%. At the end of March, we were at 28%. The cash balance at the end of March is $6,764,675.49.
Thank you, Ms. Donna.
Yeah, we move on to the budget for the second reading, approval for second reading. We put a copy of the first reading, just the cover letter. We also gave you that from the last meeting that we had, since it had a list of everything that we did for the first reading, just in case you needed to refer back to it. But the second reading, I have your revenue and expenditure reports attached to the cover letter. It's balanced for our your second reading approval. The general fund revenues and expenditures each total $14,593,732. For the second reading, we adjusted some revenue to show the use of fund reserve. I think for the first reading, we asked if we may put in $218,000 for fund reserve, but we put in $216,000. You'll see it on that first report, that revenue report. You'll see the fund reserve, there's a line item that shows that $216,000 being used. It also reflects, Stephanie was talking about the panic alert. We added $31,660 for that service. I put it under the safety services. We also made some adjustments, like for people that are retiring or leaving and our new hires, if we could adjust, like with some teachers that are starting maybe lower on the scale, and we had some 28-year teachers leaving, so that helped a little bit with the general fund budget. But anyway, that just balancing it out, that's the amount we come up with. It's probably maybe about $8,000 more than that first reading. It's a little bit, or a little bit less. No, it's a little bit more. It went up just a tiny bit.
Okay. Any questions for Donna? Any other changes that could happen due to legislative action, or?
I didn't change anything as far as state revenue, and federal. It's kind of based on what we have now. I did add a little bit more with our local tax coming in. I upped it just a little bit.
Okay. Thank you. All right, do I have a motion that we approve the budget as, Ms. Donovan just detailed for the upcoming school year? I have a motion by Ray, do I have a second?
I second.
And Sean, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much. Okay, instructional report, Ms. Sandy.
So you should have a packet to your right. Each year, we have to, every 5 years, we have to come up with a 5-year plan for the district. And there's a district strategic plan, and then the schools also come up with school renewal plans that last 5 years. So the most recent one was conducted in 2023, and then we do updates every April. So we've just done those updates, and the schools work with their teams, either school improvement council members or administrative people in their office, whoever they think would be helpful with developing their school renewal plans. And then the district strategic plan is actually it's when each of the school renewal plans come together to create all the goals for the district strategic plan. So I would like for each principal to talk about their school renewal plan and their action steps and strategies that they're working on at their schools. You want me to start?
Sure. Okay, what I did is, our school renewal plan has performance goals. And this, I ran a copy of it today, and Ms. Sloan had just run the testing tickets, so it's in pink. But this is our school renewal plan, and you can see it's quite long and extensive. But I've taken our goals, and we can look at that. And I really tried to pick out some strategies of some things that really were new, some things that we're looking at for next year. We've had a lot of conversation about making some changes with some of our, reading and math strategies. So those are the things that I chose to add on here. Because for one performance goal, I may have 15 or 20 strategies and indicators, but I just picked out a few that we could talk about today. But the first performance goal deals with the 6 components of the South Carolina MTSS system. That's the system of multi-tiered systems of support. That's what we use when we talk about interventions and tier 1 instruction and helping students. And several years ago, we were really struggling with that. And I felt like that's something that needed to be a goal, so that's why that's in here. And it's something that we're continuously working on. And the 6 components are leadership, building capacity, collaborating with stakeholders, looking at data, looking at the 3-tiered model of intervention, and evaluating your program. And I feel like right now, based on the things that we really have worked on and feel pretty good about, we're about 66% there, and which is 4 of our goals, and we need to work on 2 more. So if you'll look at the strategies, our MTSS coordinator reviews the plan yearly with our staff in August. It's a complicated plan because when you have children who are struggling and need intervention, no 2 children are the same. So you really have to look at each individual child and determine what their needs are. The staff is engaged in ongoing staff development to meet the needs of all of our students. And teachers in K-3 will be provided staff development on delivering Wonders direct instruction with fidelity. And that's something that we are starting next year. We're going to be doing more direct instruction with our reading program. It's a basal, that all of you used in school. And we're going to be using that for reading instruction in K-3 next year. And also our leadership team is going to start looking at our MTSS data, those intervention kids, to try to determine, where are we with these children and what are our next steps, and, where are our weaknesses, where are our strengths. So that's something that we're going to be working on for next year.
And Ms. Dolly, you may get to this, but can you also elaborate a little bit how this merges into your Montessori curriculum and, as far as using the basal and all that?
As you'll see in some of our test results, our kids aren't moving as fast as we want them to with their reading scores, and we just felt like phonics is something that we really need to work on. We need to make sure that all children, every child, is getting the same direct instruction. And, in Montessori, you work with the kids where they are, and kids are in so many different places. And Montessori is, I love Montessori math, and I will say Montessori in the area of reading. You need some supplemental stuff to go along with it. And we've been doing that, but we've been pulling it from different places. Well, now we're going to be all using the basal, and we're going to be doing 75 minutes of basal instruction. And we've worked it out where it fits into the curriculum and it's not, causing any problems with not being able to do other things. So I actually met with my lower L teachers this week, and we feel pretty good about, where we're going to put it and move forward with that.
And Wonders is the title
reading
Wonders.
basal.
That's the high quality instructional material that the state adoption that our reading teachers selected at the elementary school. So that's where that resource comes from.
Any other questions about that? And I'll get into a little bit other down in another goal in a few minutes, and I want to talk to you about too. Performance goal number 2 deals with discipline. Discipline in our primary grades has been an issue for years, and we've worked really, really hard with that. We've tried to, put in interventions in place, and we've talked to our teachers, and, we've done so many things. We've used a program called Pyramid, and I'm so excited about the Leader in Me next year that we're going to start, because I feel like that really is going to hit the core of a lot of this. And as you can see, we have our referrals in grades 4K through fifth, that's supposed to be 5K. The majority of discipline referrals were in primary classrooms, 4K and 5K. Referrals will decrease from 92 referrals just in kindergarten by 10% each year until we reach a maximum of 42 referrals in June of 28. And as you can see under 25-26, we actually had 56 referrals. Our target was 61, and we're a little bit under our target, but we're not quite at our 42 yet. So we're working on that. And we've set goals. Students with Leader in Me will be setting goals to improve personal behavior, class behaviors, and school behaviors. That's a big part of Leader in Me, is setting goals. Personal goals, classroom goals, and school goals. And we hope that that's gonna, make a big difference. It will also address school climate, teacher-student relationships, and student motivation. Y'all have heard me talk about that quite a bit. And research has shown that this program really has a direct impact on lowering discipline referrals. And I know the school we visited, it was amazing how much it really had an impact on their discipline. It really put it down to just about nothing. So I'm hoping that, it will have that same effect at our schools. So we're excited about that. The third performance goal is about math. And Latta Elementary School will increase the percent of third grade students scoring meets or exceeds. And you can see I have baseline scores for third grade, fourth grade, and fifth grade. This is our math SC ready. And, you can look under 25-26. And remember, it's this year, but we're looking at last year's scores, okay? Because I'm hoping we'll have some scores tomorrow. Hopefully, some of our reading scores tomorrow. We'll see. But as you can see, you can see what our target scores are, and we're not quite there. And just keep in mind that Ellen Weaver, our state superintendent, has upped the ante to 75, and that's the target score that we need to reach for all of our grade levels. So, we've got a ways to go with that. We're really focusing, look at our strategies underneath, we're really focusing on small group instruction and really looking at targeting those weak skills. We are having weekly grade level meetings, and we talk about iReady data and, how we can help children in different classrooms. And one of the things that we're gonna do next year is increase the number of walkthrough observations that we're doing to ensure the fidelity of the instructional practices that we are asking teachers to do. We do administer iReady 3 times a year, and this performance goal is talking about grades 3, 4, and 5, but we do administer it to K through 5. And we do look at the data that we get from iReady. Also, we have MTSS grade level teams that discuss, those kids that need intervention. And next year, one of the things we're going to do is when a class goes to art, music, PE, or library, we're going to take those assistants and they're going to do intervention with some of our kids who need it. So that's going to really increase that one-on-one help that these kids will get. So we're excited about that. Performance goal 3 was about math. Performance goal 4 is ELA. So you can look at the data there from the ELA. And this is where I'd like to talk to you a little bit about something that we're starting with kindergarten and first grade next year. It's something called UFly. UFly is a program, it's a very scripted program, it's a phonics program, and it takes about 20 to 30 minutes to do this. We're going to do it with all of our kindergarten and first grade students next year. So we're excited about this. A lot of schools whose scores have really increased are using this program. It's repetition. Do y'all remember at the early childhood center when we did SRA reading? Do any of y'all remember that? No? Robert, he and Leanne probably did.
I remember it.
Yep. And we really got some good results from that. And so I'm hoping that, we can get some good results from this as well. Teachers in K through 5, as Ms. Ards talked about earlier, we're getting some staff development on our basals, our reading and our math basals. Those basals have so many activities and things that you can do. So we're just having some people come and talk to us about that to make sure we're using those appropriately. One thing that was recommended by the state is making sure that our resource teachers are provided general ed curriculum so that they can work with kids and know what they're being taught in the classrooms in addition to the standards. And also just making sure that students are doing their best work on iReady, because iReady is really their practice in learning how to take a state test. And just that motivation piece and making sure that, they complete their required daily assignments on that. And just getting the kids to stay motivated to read and, stick with it and not give up is sometimes hard. Performance Goal 5 is talking about, we have to write goals for 3rd, 4th, and 5th, and then we have to write goals for 1st and 2nd. So you'll see a lot of repetition in the things that we do for these children, but, Performance Goal 5 and 6 deals with reading and math for grades 1 and grades 2. And I've already mentioned UFly, and that is, something that we're adding next year. And we'd like to also grow our community readers program. That's one thing that our kids absolutely love, the community readers coming in, and a lot of y'all have done that. And that's something that we're looking at to increase next year. And that's a motivation thing for the kids as well. And using iReady data and really looking at that data for individual kids. And our teachers now are using that data to set goals for children. And they're talking about those goals, every 9 weeks or quarterly, and they're, actually, we had a PTO meeting this year, and the children held the data conferences for their parents. And they talked about their iReady scores and how they were doing. The teacher didn't do it, the child did it. So, that was something that I think they enjoyed doing. And also Performance Goal 6. And since we don't have SC Ready scores to use for grades 1 and 2, I have to use iReady scores. And the data that you're seeing is from the January diagnostic in iReady. And I looked it up, and in math, the April diagnostic, you can see right there in January it was 17, in April it was 41. And 2nd grade, it went from 20 to 39. And it's up, but still, I feel like we need to do better than that. But it's a difficult test, and some of our kids really struggle with it, but that's why we try to keep them on it, and they have to learn those test taking procedures. And one of the things that we have really focused on this year is number 3 there. The math coach has really worked with our teachers and talking about standards and increasing the rigor for kids. And if a kid is below grade level, you can't not teach them grade level standards. You have to teach them those grade level standards, but you have to also drop down in small group and help them move up. But you can't skip the grade level part. They have to be taught that as well. So that's something that we're really working on now, is that tier 1 instruction with both reading and math. And goal 7, this is our ATSI goal that we had to add for the state this year. And because our students with disabilities were in that bottom 5%, and the things that we are actually working on with those kids, actually it's all the children, but is that tier 1 instruction and make sure that's delivered with fidelity. those reading and math materials, making sure that everybody is getting the same instruction with those materials. You fly again, we've already talked about that. All students in 5K through 3, that's 75 minutes of Wonders reading. I hope that is going to make a difference. The instructional coaches are meeting with the planning teams weekly. And attendance. That's one thing that Carla Shelley has been diligent about working with attendance at our school this year. And she's, I mentioned it at the last time I presented to the board with making sure that she's meeting with parents. We have intervention plans going on. She's calling parents every day. And, you can't teach them if they're not in school. And we have a lot of kids that miss 40 and 50 days of school. So we are really working on that. And I've included just some charts in the back of some data of our meets or exceeds, and our discipline data is in, the last chart. You can kind of see, who has the most referrals and whatnot, and suspensions. And I know we went through that in a hurry. Do you have any questions?
Since I never heard this before, what is U-Fly instruction? What is the introduction of it? Is it hands-on or more?
Oh, no, it's a very scripted program for
Okay.
phonics.
Okay,
It teaches them how to open your mouth and say the right, sound for the words, for the letters. And it teaches you how to make blends, and you start with a very basic phonics in kindergarten, and you move through until you're actually reading.
because phonics.
And then you kind of, there's nothing else after that, not in U-Fly.
Okay.
It'll do a little comprehension, but not a lot. It's mainly teaching you how to read.
Oh.
And what it's supposed to do is, when you teach a scripted program like that, you shouldn't have any holes or gaps because you didn't skip anything.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes when teachers are teaching kids and they're pulling something from here and they're pulling from here and pulling from here, well, maybe they forgot to do the long O lesson, for example. And the kids didn't get the long O, the vowel sound O. That's just an example. But when it's scripted, you don't miss anything. And it's repeated over and over and over again. So, like I said, the schools that are using it are seeing some good results from it.
Okay.
Okay.
Alright, so, my document is not quite as elaborate as, Miss Dolly's.
It's called cut and paste.
But what I included, I probably should have kept one of those, but, what is included in our handout is just a snip. I cut and paste, from our school renewal plan that is much longer. And just shared with you what each of our goals are for the middle school and where we're currently at with our data. And, here, I can work off the document. And then just kind of talk about some strategies that we're working through. Excuse me, please, I'm working off 3 hours of sleep. Got home from Bamberg last night, had a flat tire on the way home. It was quite a night. So we're good, we're here. But that should have been the first page for mine. What do y'all have on the first page? Disabled?
Yes.
Okay, well, we'll go with that then. So we can talk about, that's not the first goal in the plan, but we can talk about them out of order, no problem. So one of our goals, just like the elementary school, our disabled subgroup has been identified as a group that we need to target and work with and improve performance with. And so, as Ms. Sandy shared, this is a 5-year plan, so you can see our data from year to year. One thing that I am proud of, when I looked at our data from last school year, we actually had a pretty good increase in our percent of disabled students who met expectations in math and ELA. We're doing some targeted, we've talked about this before, that target time with teachers, where we're pulling that lowest 20% of students and trying to give them some more small group instruction to meet them where they're at with their needs. Our next goal is to increase math scores. So our math scores have historically been lower than our ELA scores. That's not just at Latta Middle School, that is across the district and across the state. So a way that we want to increase our math scores is to provide our teachers with more professional development in math. And part of this is due to, you'll see we had a really large increase in our number of PD sessions offered this year for our math teachers. We actually offered 11. Part of that is due to a contract that the district has with our STEM centers, where they provide professional development on standards and best practices and instruction. Another part of that is the school paid for professional development for our teachers with our new math curriculum that was adopted this year, our Accelerate Learning Math Nation textbook curriculum. And then we were also identified by the state as a high priority school in just math based on our scores from 2 years ago in 8th grade. And that has allowed us to attend some professional development meetings that the state has offered for free. So really had a large increase this year. Just to prepare you for next year, that probably will drop slightly because our teachers are feeling a lot more comfortable with the math curriculum, the Math Nation that we're using. And so we will not need as many professional development sessions for next year. But we'll continue to work with those other groups on standards and best practices and instructional practice. My next goal, and hopefully yours as well, if you turn the page, I don't know which order this is stapled in, is increasing our percent of students who score meet or exceed in math on our standardized SC Ready state testing every year. And there's a lot of numbers on there. But what I wanted you to see is our targets, how they're increasing each year, and where we are actually performing. As you can see, we're making some gains in math. But as Ms. Dolly said, we still have some work to do in that area, and we are working diligently to see growth in those areas. I will say one thing, I am eager to see our SC Ready preliminary math scores this year, especially for 8th grade, because the State Department changed that pathway. And so our advanced 8th grade students this year had geometry instead of Algebra 1. So I'm really curious to see how that impacts our 8th grade math SC Ready scores. Algebra, I think, just lended itself a little bit better to the 8th grade standards, doing some integration. So I'm really curious to see how that impacts us. Our teacher who teaches geometry did a good job of trying to include some of those 8th grade math standards, but when you're trying to teach those geometry standards as well, that's a lot to try to cover. And our students were challenged this year with geometry. It was quite an adjustment for them. So just kind of eager to see how that impacts us, in especially 8th grade.
I just ask about the math.
Yeah.
Whether it's at elementary school or middle school, math is always something, I guess, I almost talk over Miss Joanne, but she taught it for a long time. But math is like baseball or softball or javelin or anything. In order to be good at it, you have to do it. You have to do it a lot. A lot. And so how much, and I know that certain kids don't have, I guess, the environment at home, but how much work are we giving our students? We send teachers to be extra training and stuff like this, but math is something that you have to just sit down and do. And so I don't know what the answer is, but I don't know. Just some of it falls on the student, I guess is what I'm trying to say, and maybe pushing some work for them to take home to do. And it may not get done, but I say it's just like any sport. Math is something you have to do to get better at it.
I agree. My background is math as well, and I agree. Nowadays, we are fighting the battle of AI and photo math and Google Lens, and they take it home and they take a picture of it and it shows them how to solve the problem. So they're not really practicing it.
Until you get to the test.
Till you get to, or in the classroom where those tools are taken away from you. I'm a huge supporter of homework. Not a lot, not overkill, but they do need to practice. The other piece of that is, if I don't understand how to do something and I'm given these problems to practice and I take it home and I have no clue what I'm doing, I'm either possibly practicing it incorrectly or I'm just not gonna try it. And I think one activity for me that was eye-opening is, we work in a base 10 math system. And one PD session I went to, they wanted us to work in a base 8 math system. That took quite a bit of adjusting for me. Once I picked up on it, I was okay, but it was a huge struggle at first. And, the presenter just pretty much told me the way you just felt with base 8 is the way some of our students feel with base 10. It's easy for us, it's common to us, but we've just got to find strategies and ways to help them. And so I agree, practice helps, but we've got to make sure they have that foundation and that understanding.
And if I could add too, back in the fall, we revisited that, you all did as a board, and we kind of brought that back to the forefront and even made some tweaks in the policies, you all did, and because we want to raise the bar, raise the standard and hold kids more accountable. I actually had a parent reach out to me recently about her child's ELA grade, and she was very concerned about the child not passing and going to 9th grade with her friends. And, I pulled up the child's grades and just the classwork, not homework, but she had, out of one semester, 18 zeros maybe, just where she didn't turn in classwork. So I printed that and I highlighted that, all of the zeros, and I scanned it back in and I reminded the parent, here's her grades, and it concerns me that she's not turning in her work, doing things, So I still think it's gonna have us a little more time, but I think us raising that retention, that retention bar, and then pushing out the homework where teachers feel like, for a long time there was a narrative that we just can't give homework, teachers can't give homework, we can't give homework. So trying to ease that back in on them while not saying we want you to flood families with homework, but to have a nice balance. And so, I think we're kind of seeing the first year of that, and then trying to balance the technology there as well. But, I'm in full support of this retention piece, and I don't know where we stand right now with the number of students that may entail, but they were committed to that. I am too. Because and I think our state legislators are opening their eyes to some of that, as far as with legislation and the grade floor and all that, we've got to start holding parents and families and children accountable again for their education that they're receiving. So many things have just fallen on us.
I'm not fussing, I was just saying, it's wonderful for advancement and changing up the way you teach and those things, but at some point, you just gotta sit
And
and
the
do it.
math standards this year, this was the first year of full implementation of the new standard. So, there were some standards in some grade levels that some teachers had never even taught because they've been in the same grade level, for example. So this was definitely a heavier year for that, but,
And too, so much of the testing, even at early with us, math involves reading, and if you can't read, you can't do the math. It's not just computation and all of that anymore. It's almost everything is word problems. So you have to be able to read in order to understand how to do the math piece of it. So it's such a combination of things as far as the assessment piece goes right now.
Absolutely. So then our next performance goal at the bottom of the second page is to increase the percent of students who score meet and exceeds on our science SC Ready test, which is only given to sixth grade. The year before it was not reported. This past year it was, and there was a slight decrease from 2 years prior, but, you know, I will say we also had a teacher who was out long-term maternity leave. And so, you know, I truly believe that has an impact. Even that after-school tutoring program I do and that target time tutoring that we do with certified teachers, the difference in gains for those students who have certified teachers versus high school interns is just, you know, it was pretty significant. So sometimes you can't replace that full-time certified teacher.
And Ms. Brickman, will you elaborate on the not reported piece? So the board, I know that was a year of standards.
Yes, the standards changed, and so that was statewide.
Yeah.
That wasn't specific to Latta, that was statewide. The standards changed, and so they did not report any science scores for that year. It was just your points were based on the percent of students you tested. Just like our scores last year, there was no ELA growth included. This year, there will not be any math growth included because of the standard revisions each year.
Thank you.
Okay. And then the final page is actually the third page is our ELA data. So for our state assessment, trying to increase those number of students who are scoring meets and exceeds in ELA. And I will say we did see large growth in 7th and 8th grade last year with those SE Ready ELA scores. To me, it was large growth. I mean, when you're improving 17% and 7% in 1 year. So we did have some conversations with 6th grade about some things that 7th and 8th grade had implemented in their classrooms and that they maybe could implement, just so we can try to see that growth across all grade levels at the school. Okay. And then on the back page are our other two goals. The one at the top, so this one deals with, there was a goal written that was trying to continue to grow the STEM program by looking at the number of Project Lead the Way courses the students took, and then looking at the number of STEM courses that they said they were interested in taking on their IGPs, their individual graduation plans, in 8th grade for 9th grade. We have seen a decrease in that percent. And Ms. Melton and I, she does the IGPs. We've sat down and brainstormed as to why we might be seeing a decrease there. Part of it is we have increased our number of students who take the fundamentals of computing at the middle school level. So though we have a very low number who still need it when they get to the high school now, we probably have at least 3/4 of our students who have it by the time they get to high school. So we think that is one reason for the decrease. And then we're looking at our Project Lead the Way courses, and for this upcoming year, we're actually revising them. We're wanting to include more courses that we think will pique student interest. And so we are eliminating the medical detectives course from Project Lead the Way that we offer. We're continuing to offer automation and robotics, design and modeling, and for next year we are adding flight and space. So we are hoping that increases student interest and their desire to participate and continue in STEM related courses. And then our final goal, our data just looks amazing, but we have to understand that data sometimes can be interpreted differently. That one deals with our discipline and trying to decrease the number of referrals. And we even have it written in our statement above it. The first 2 years of data you see, that is when the middle school had 5th through 8th grade. So there was a whole nother grade level, another probably 120 students that were there. Our data from last year only includes 6th through 8th grade. That's still though, if you look, number of incidents per number of students, there's still a decrease in that area. I do feel like that is somewhat connected with our PBIS, those students being motivated to try to earn those incentives. And then we also changed the criteria for those incentives. We made it a little bit more challenging to meet those quarterly or semester rewards. Because we were seeing some students at quarterly celebrations that I knew I had seen in my office more than once. More than once, for sure, frequent flyer. So we changed our criteria there, and we did that with the PBIS leadership team. We sat down and we talked about, what's fair, what's reasonable. We don't expect perfection, but we do have high expectations. And as of right now, we are on track to actually decrease the number of discipline referrals for this school year as well compared to last school year. Any questions?
You've been in our district, this is your second or third year?
Second.
All right, so what's your thoughts on how do we compare? You worked at another district, in a larger district, so where do you think we are?
As far in what, like in all?
Just overall?
Overall, in all areas?
Or, I mean, if there's particular places where you think that we could be stronger, or just overall, just where are we, where do we compare?
So I feel like academically, teaching, we're ahead of where I was. If I don't want to speak negatively of anywhere else, but here, like at the middle school, I can trust my staff that anytime I go by their room, there is teaching and learning taking place in that room. Any moment I step in to do a walkthrough, those teachers are honed in and doing what they are expected to do and what they need to do for those students. Even I've shared with y'all multiple times that target time where they pull students during their planning, that's something that none of them have complained about to me. Giving up that time to try to give our students what they need. So like dedication from teachers doing, what is required of them, but even more than that, because they expect it of themselves. We expect it as a team, and they expect it of themselves. So academically, we're in a really good place. Behaviorally, I feel like we're in a really, really good place. That is probably one of the biggest differences that I see from where I was is peer accountability and student expectations of themselves. More support from families, and you can tell those expectations, and it's not 100%, but that is an improvement as well. I do feel like we were a little bit behind when I came in with the whole technology piece, but we have really honestly made leaps and bounds, and so I feel like even in that area we are catching up, and we're almost at a level playing field. So I think Latta's in a really good place. It's a really special place. Truly is.
Thanks.
Well, I took a totally different stance on what I'm sharing with you as far as handing out. Our information is a little different. We certainly have the data that we're sharing, but I just listed our performance goals and did that. Thank you. Because I'm going to share this information with you. Our plan, just like with the other principals, is a large document that we have all of this information. We do have certainly the testing goals. We also have some other goals that we looked at the high school. And so we'll go through each of those performance goals with you, and I'll talk a little bit about some of the information where we are with it, with achieving those goals. And certainly we're continuing to work on these goals all the time. And so that's something that we're going to be striving to do and striving to meet targets that are there. Our first performance goal is we'll work to increase the number of juniors and seniors enrolling in IB courses each year. Our goal is to kind of increase that number 5 students a year. We ended up where we were for the information that we've listed this year. Last year's information is what we're having to base that on, really. We had 40 students There were 50 students the year before. Currently, for what we'll report on next year's plan, we have 45. So that fluctuates a little bit too, based on the size of the classes and where we are. But they're doing well, and I want to talk about our strategies and some of the activities of how we're trying to achieve the goals that we have. So certainly, we try to talk to our students and parents about the benefit of enrolling in IB courses, how that's going to relate to their careers that students plan to have later on. We look at having some parent nights so that we do bring parents and students in to talk about the courses. We have former students come back and talk about the IB program, what they felt benefited them, and maybe even some of the negatives that were going on, because we want them to hear everything there. We encourage students too to enroll in courses that benefit them. They may or may not want to be that full IB diploma candidate, but we want to foster those students that are enrolling in even a music class, which we were able to offer this year and add in, or the dance class, or art. So we have a lot of students that have a lot of different capabilities there. So we do want to focus on that. And certainly those individual graduation plan conferences or IGP conferences, those are instrumental in talking to parents and students individually about the opportunities for our students. We also have started something new. The last couple of years, it's called IB Supports, and Ms. Blanchard, our school counselor, actually has students who come to her and they meet on a regular basis. They'll talk about test anxiety, they'll talk about issues they may be having, and this is a small group that she has, because certainly it's confidential, the information has to stay with those students, and it's not something that is just for them, that particular group meets, but if we had others that needed those kinds of services, we want to provide that for them, and so we have other teachers too who are willing to always offer that support. And so we felt like that's been very beneficial to those students, because they are taking those college level courses. It is stressful. It is, high stakes, and they're in the middle and throes of IB testing right now. So we fully understand what I was going on with those students. The next performance goal is for us to increase the number of students we have taking career and technology education courses. We have our agriculture program at the high school, as well as Project Lead the Way engineering. Our ag students, last year it was about 4 completers that we had. It's also 4 completers this year, but next year it's going to be 14 completers when we do this renewal plan. So we're making those gains, and for a while there, certainly we had to build this program back because, Mr. Miles was part-time assistant, well, he was full-time assistant principal, while doing ag part-time, and so it was just a challenge for him, but we're making strides. We're going to be offering a new course in ag, that turf management, I think is the name of the course that we're going to offer next year. So I'm really excited about trying to modify when we offer some of the courses so students can take additional things in agriculture. And we're looking at that with Project Lead the Way as well. That number has gone up, and we did exceed the number that we had down from the previous year with the Project Lead the Way. So we were excited about that, and that number continues to grow. And certainly one of the things that we're trying to work on with them is giving them opportunities, like the couple of students that came to the board meeting earlier in the year and talked about the robots that we're making and giving a little demonstration of what they've done. And one neat thing is to watch them when they go into hallways after they've created these robots, and they're having them go through the school, and they're trying to help them maneuver. And so we're trying to give them more opportunities to focus on that and have them come even to open house. And Sandra Gamillion looks for any opportunities to highlight those students and to let them shine. And so they do a great job with that. So we look forward to both of these programs continuing to grow. Then we also are looking at, with the next goal, trying to reduce our chronic absenteeism. And I will be honest with you, that is one place that we are finding to be a challenge a little bit at the high school with students missing. When Dolly mentioned that, we have that as well. And the number of absentee students that are absent seems to be up a little bit. We're certainly focusing on that, because if they don't meet seat time, if they're not in class the number of days they have to be, they will not get credit for that course. Now, we do offer some time after school for them to make up seat time, and so we've got some teachers on that graduation team that we created that have been after these students I feel like Miss Bryson is grabbing those kids in the hallway. She's our lead for that team. She has started really, and it's making a huge difference. Now, we're not getting all of them, but I had one parent calling me one night because a child got an interim and it had an FA. And now we can work on that time and make that adjustment to that course because it was one that was just completed. And it was a half unit course, so it was 5 absences that child could miss. And so that parent's like, my child, so they're realizing this, but the whole point is be at school, do what you need to do. I've had some seniors come up to me asking, now, if we don't have an exam, do we have to be here? And I said, it depends on how many days you've missed. So they're really, I said, if you missed some days that you shouldn't have missed, then yeah, you're gonna have to be here. And so that's one of the things that we're really trying to push that and help them understand that it's important to be here every day, because then you're not here to hear the instruction. Even though you're going back and teachers do a lot of videos, they put things on Google Classroom. But again, when you miss that instruction, it makes a huge difference when they're trying to go back and do. But we are working on that. Certainly we call parents when students are out. We have those conversations. We work on plans for those students that are missing too many days so that we can have the information in place. The goal is not to have them go to the courts because of attendance. We want them to be at school, but when it gets to that point, then yes, we follow through with that as well, because it's important for them to be at school. One of our other goals is to increase parent and student satisfaction with the learning environment, and we certainly have had we've met that goal and exceeded. We had a positive response as far as with our parents that responded as well as our students to meet that goal this year, and so we were happy about that. We typically, one way we try to get feedback is to complete that State Department survey, which we all have to do for students and parents, but we also have a Cognia survey that we do earlier in the year. So we do one in the fall, one in the spring. We do try to use that information to help us grow. We also look at other kinds of feedback that come in, and our student council that we've newly implemented again or reinvented or whatever, put them back in place, and are working closely with the middle school to have a seamless transition between those two. But we really are listening to those student leaders, and we're saying, your class has elected you, so we want to hear what you want to do, the things that you want to have in place. And so we do try to implement some of the things that they want and are trying to listen to their requests so that we can make school, we want it to be fun, we've got to have order, and they've got to do what they're supposed to do, but we want it to be a good experience for them. We're also working to decrease the number of suspensions and expulsions that we have. We hope to decrease this by 10% each year. That has not been the case on this plan, unfortunately, because if they're not following what they need to do, then there are consequences for that. Feel like anymore, sometimes we have issues, certainly, sometimes with cell phones, but sometimes too with vapes, and that's one thing that I know across the district that we've worked on and tried to implement some strategies, and certainly have Trinity Behavioral Care that's with us, that we have opportunities for students to get some additional counseling if they need that, and so we work very closely with them, and that's very important. So we do want to not have our students out of school, but they have to do what they're supposed to do when they're here. So we do have teachers that serve as mentors for those students too. We pull in parents. We do a lot of parent conferences with them when we know that they've had several times of or several instances of some things happening. And sometimes we find, and I'm not picking on my 9th grade, but some of them are just still so immature, trying to get them to understand I'm in high school and to start maturing a little bit, and so we're working with them on that as well. The next goal that we have is to work on improving our on-time graduation rate, and we were very happy that last year we certainly met that goal and exceeded the goal that we were hoping for. Again, that on-time graduation rate can vary so much from year to year depending on the makeup of of a class and students that end up maybe having left us over the period of time, because they're looking at those 4 years of students, and if they have dropped out at whatever point, and it's not at all that we're not working very diligently trying to not have that happen, but there are instances sometimes where it's almost impossible just to have everybody working together to really make sure that they're getting what they need and improving and completing the work in class. When y'all were talking about that earlier with just completing work, we just see some of that, that we've just got to all work together, and we try to encourage and do all that we can, but ultimately too, that students got to do their part and actually complete some of the work that needs to be completed. So that's important as well. We do have that time in the morning that students can come and get extra help. We have worked on with the freshman students coming in, because we did have a large number a couple of years ago. It was a little less last year, but we had, I think it was 33 that we ended up retaining because they didn't have the coursework necessary to be promoted. I think last year it was 28 or 9, so it was not as large, but we really do have teachers that are trying to focus on those students, trying to push them to get the work done and to do the things they need to do, and help them understand, no, you don't need to be in English 9 3 years, but if you don't pass it, you'll be in English 9 3 years. So we're trying to work with them on that. We've been monitoring their grades and working with data teams to try to help improve student achievement and teachers working together. And even though sometimes like our English department will meet or math department will meet, but then we also try to pull in some other people. If it's an EOC group, for example, maybe it's math and English and science, but you've got some of these same students that you're dealing with. And so we try to meet together to see how can we try to help them improve in all areas and not just one subject area. So we do feel that's important. That kind of ties into with the next goal of trying to increase the number of students scoring C or higher on end of course. We've talked about our end of course data earlier because all that information from our report card was shared. Our goal is to increase that by at least 3% each year, or 12 students. Certainly, we ended up doing that with our English and U.S. history. We're still working more on our math and science to get those scores up, which again, too, one of the things we've talked about even with the biology gets to be some of the reading and trying to have them read when they're taking a test. And you ask the student later, well, how did you do? And to make sure that they're actually reading and not just clicking an answer on a test to get through with it. And so we're really trying to help them understand the importance of doing their best on that. We do utilize progress learning, some additional resources. Some teachers asked for some different workbooks to help with EOC, and we've provided that for them. Progress learning is an online tool that is there to help with those different EOC tests, to give some sample questions. Again, they're not at that level with it, but helping put it in a way that the students can understand it and then to know that content, so hopefully they'll be better prepared to end up moving forward on that test. Again, I talked about earlier, we've developed some professional learning communities, or PLCs, to ensure that we're looking at our data and trying to move our students forward, because it's just so important to work together. And our teachers they work so hard to try to make it all happen for our students. And I'm just so proud of what they do and the support that they provide for our students. Again, going on now to the next goal of college entrance exams and career readiness assessments. Again, we met our goal on our career readiness assessment. That's our WIN learning platform that we use. It's Ready to Work is the name of the assessment. With our college entrance, we've set our goal at 28% of the students being college ready, and it was 25% that we had. So we fell a little short of that, but again, we're working on trying to make those improvements. We actually did a survey of some of our students with what kinds of courses they might want to see, and that'll be talked about again in a minute for some locally board-approved electives. And one thing that we were surprised to see was like even a test prep course. We've had that in the past, but we had a good many students ask about having that put back in place. And so that's one of the things, if we can work that in the curriculum, that we actually have on that list to hopefully get approval to do a board-approved elective for that. So we're trying to take their input too, to see things that would help them. We do have teachers, all of our teachers got trained this year on that WIN learning platform so that they would be able to do a little more individualized instruction or help with our students, and our students have been working in that platform. So we'll certainly continue that next year and feel like that's going to continue to help those scores for the WIN assessment that they're taking, or the Ready to Work assessment. And our goal certainly there is to try to increase at least like 3% each year on those assessments. We also want to work on retaining our teachers. I know we've had a few retire over the last few years that have put a lot of years in with us, but again, certainly when you can keep that faculty as stable as possible, then that's going to be beneficial. I do feel very positive and confident about the new people we have coming in, and excited about that. We've got some, I think, really excited people to be Vikings. I've talked to our business teacher that's going to be coming in, because we were talking about her course she needs to take this summer. And Dr. Farmer was going, I just need my Viking gear. And I said, I'm going to hook you up with some of your Viking gear. So she's really excited, and was really excited to hear about a lot of our ball teams and what's going on. And she said, I've just got to figure out how I can be involved in some of that. And I said, well, you can be. And we also have homecoming and student council and all these other things that we can hook you up. So she's going to be a really big asset, I think, coming in. So that's good. Certainly too, and we're looking at putting back in, a couple of years ago, we had a morale committee for our teachers, and we're looking at kind of putting that back in place again. That went by the wayside a little bit. Also trying to do some surveys with our teachers to find out some information that they feel is important. And we've done that recently, and they've given some feedback, and we talked about that at our faculty meeting yesterday, of some changes and additions that we're going to be trying to make and implement based on feedback that they've given us as well. And so that's one thing that I feel like is very important. We do also, for first-year teachers, we have mentors that are assigned to them, and we also try to pair up any of our first year to the district teachers so that we can end up making sure that they understand how to navigate our systems and the things that we do. And again, our teachers are just so eager to help each other, and so we don't have an issue with any of them not being helpful, and so we appreciate that too. Professional development is another one of our goals, and making sure we've worked a lot on differentiated instruction, trying to make sure that we are offering the instruction we need for the individual students and giving them that individualized help when they need it. But also trying to make sure that if a particular teacher has a type of professional development that they want to pursue, that we're giving them opportunities to do that. I know I've mentioned before, we had our Mary Claire Wiggins with U.S. History. She sought out and wanted to go to a training in Horry County that they were doing with their teachers. We were able to allow her to do that. Our biology teacher, or teachers, additional one that will probably be doing some of that next year as well. We sent them to some training for biology for the EOC, but also trying to just find out, we've had business teachers go to computer training, so just allowing them the opportunity to receive that training that would benefit them, because it is so different too with us, whether it's going to be that math person or that business person. Erin goes to things for ag all the time, and we have our coaches that do a lot of their professional development as well with athletics, which is a big part of, because that's the love of a lot of our students and teachers, and that makes school exciting for them and is very important. And so we do try to offer those opportunities so that we can keep improving and making gains with our students.
Any questions?
I just have one question, it's because, not understanding, just because you have the different courses at the high school, it's very difficult probably to have a program, a master program that will reduce the absenteeism, and also that other one where you had said on-time graduation.
Right.
Because of the different courses and all that, you don't have a program to, that all the students will be under, like they had something at the elementary, middle school, something like that. You won't have nothing like that. Oh, you can't really.
Right, like, well, and if you're looking at as far as an assessment type thing that they do, where they have the iReady, we don't have that all of our students are gonna be taking, when they're looking at the EOC, but all of that, you're gonna have your algebra with EOC, your US history, your biology, and then your English too is where we are with that right now. But basically, when you're looking at them being absent or them graduating on time, it's really helping them to understand why this is so important and not having outside factors, come in too, because some of our kids, as they get a little older and they start working and they start making some of that money, helping them to understand that you need this education so that you can end up making a whole lot more money than what you're making right now. But we do face that sometimes too, that we have kids that are working lots and lots of hours and they come in and they're sleeping in class, when we start finding that out and, trying to help work with those families, and sometimes they need to supplement the income that's coming into a family. But what can we do to try to help you to get this piece as well? And so, we really do try to
And
do
if I could
that.
chime in a little bit on that too, one of the things that Nan has kind of implemented this year is really sitting down with one of the assistant principals, and that he has really been in charge of keeping an eye on those students and alerting. We have students who are, where they have the grade, but they're getting an FA, a failure due to absences, and getting in touch with those students to get them, you need to come after school, and going back down to the middle school, again, raising the bar there, where she has implemented exams back again this year. So after state testing is over, next week,
Starting Friday.
you all start exams back. And I can give you an example of, like my nephew's in the 6th grade. I brought him to school this morning. We were just talking about the year, and he said he had his writing test, and then he's got his science test, or state test on Thursday. He said, but exams start Friday, or I thought he meant next week, but anyway, he said exams start, and he said math is the first one, but I'm exempt. So he started using the language, I'm exempt from that exam because you had to miss 9 or less days for the whole year and have an A or B in the course, which is not, it's not quite where we were, what we're gonna try to get back to back in the day, where it was, 5 or less for an A, 2 or less for a B, that kind of thing. But trying to ease back into exams and having that language at the middle school, holding kids accountable, that, this, and hopefully as we progress through years, they're not getting to 9th grade, or 8th grade, high school credit courses and just hearing about seat time and, how important it is, and then going back down to the elementary level. The elementary level is a parent problem. Your kid needs to be at school. Like, we don't just, we hear about mental health days a lot, and I get it, I get it, but there shouldn't be 3, 4 a month, and so we, and I know there's extenuating circumstances too, but, so I'm hoping to see, as we've had these conversations at different levels, that we start to see some changes, some positive changes, because Carla Shelley has really, she has hit the ground running at the elementary school, and then our school counselors really joined together with the state initiative about, being at school, and we need you here, and the big campaign that they did this year. And another piece that Nan has is like she was talking about, Miss Bryson and some others who are officially graduation coaches, or, I've even heard the terminology of success coaches, that they have a certain number of children that may be at risk or maybe right on the cusp, that they're not coming to school, but you are honed in, you have these 10 kids, and I need you checking grades, if they're not in school, I need you calling parents, because they, middle and elementary, they are, they may have one teacher, or they may have, just right, but they meet as a grade level, they have those conversations, but when they get in high school, you're all over the place, and so it's hard for one person. There's not a homeroom teacher or somebody that necessarily lays eyes on that's their kid, I guess. And so trying to implement some of those things, and maybe even making that a more formal kind of program as they really talk about that, and do we need to identify more graduation coaches, to back that up? But anyway, there are some things that they're trying to do, and some conversations again that we've had, and, cause we don't need any kid that's failing due to absences. I mean, and sometimes the parents don't realize it, but then a simple phone call, they get right on it, and they should know, but sometimes, we've had a situation where the kid was 10th, 11th grade, the child never was a problem as far as school, always had A's, and because of some sickness and stuff, she had been out some, but, that they didn't really catch on that she's not gonna get the credit. We need her to make up a few days of seat time, so she was able to, Mr. Robertson was able to get with her on that and then make up that time.
And sometimes too, students will end up, the parent may get that call, but a student may say, oh yeah, well, I'm fine if I take the exam, or if I'm fine if I do this, but they need to make sure that they're contacting us to make sure that is accurate information. But when you mention, and I do have teachers that are staying after school, trying to help these students do some, make up some of the work, get some things done, because again, if they make up the time, but they still don't have a passing average, then they're still not gonna be able to get that credit. And so we are working with them on that end as well. Had a senior though today, who just recently, I think, has missed some time, because she just doesn't like school. She said, I just don't wanna come. I said, but you gotta be here. I said, you need to come see me. And then she was looking at her exams, and we were talking about absences, and she was like, so she's gonna have to take basically almost every exam because of her absences, where she's done some things and didn't have to have that. I said, you could have had one exam. And she was like, I know, but chose to miss some, so.
But
We're
I
working
think
on
it's
it.
gonna take a little bit of time for us to see some of these changes across the board, but, I mean, we're really up in the, as I call it, up in the ante at all the levels, and, holding them accountable. Because like Ray said, I mean, we shouldn't have to be putting all these other things in place after the fact. Like come to school, number one. Parents, make sure your kids are coming to school, and then, do what you're supposed to while you're here. So, thank you, Ms. Carmichael.
Yeah, I appreciate y'all, and I know we're gonna talk about it in a minute with the, test prep classes. I appreciate that, and, I'll say one of my concerns is, retirements that we've had recently in the math department about what kind of rigor we're gonna have, but I know having one in high school, I'm pleased to see that I feel like the rigor's still there, and that's good, and I think too, I'll single them out. I think the chemistry classes, I think those classes the rigor's improved there. I'm glad to see, I think there's a physics class that y'all are.
We're planning to do that next year,
I
and
think that's good.
that was included on the survey too, just getting interest from students. So we did physics, we did several different things to see what they might want to have. So we got a good response.
Yeah, and I think that's good, and I think, I've seen some of the teachers at events outside of the school, or even some school extracurricular activities, and I've told them, as far as I'm concerned, and I said, I can't speak for the entire board, but I want the rigor to be there, and, if parents don't like that their kids are being challenged, then I'm okay having the heat from parents, because I want our kids to learn, and I want our kids to be prepared when they're going to college and when they're going to a career. So you aren't gonna hear me, and I don't think you'll hear anybody from the board saying that we're making classes too hard. I'd rather have some rigor and have some kids being challenged.
Yes, I agree.
Well, I know when I was in school, some people really made it rigorous. So,
And look where you are
that's
now.
right, that's right. If it wasn't for them holding us to the fire, then a lot of us would have been lost those years too. But Kyle, I don't remember us having that many people not graduating whenever we was in school, because we were held to a different standard. And so since the standards relaxed, the kids relaxed along with it, so that's why we have so much.
Only because, I saw education as a way out, and that was me. And so therefore, that slackness and stuff like that, that was apparent. I was a parent, and also, I would wish the same for everybody else's child.
That's right.
And so therefore, it's sometimes and stuff like that, the kids don't know and the parents don't know either, that this is something that's important for their life.
That's right.
It's very important.
I've always said, and I've always told kids, if they're willing to listen, is, education is something that can't be taken away from them.
That's right, that's right.
I guess that just leads me to, talking about performance goals is with the IB, I think that's great, but I still would like for us to pursue the dual enrollment in something with NETC.
And we're looking at that too. We've done a crosswalk with courses, and I think we've had some meetings, but anyway. So
I just
we're
want to throw
working
that
on
out
it.
there, not as a criticism, just, but then the other thing I do want to ask, and I'm just asking, with the test prep, we've got SAT, ACT, and then ASVAB. ASVAB is for military, right?
Yes.
And I'm just throwing this out there. What are your thoughts on, do we need ROTC again?
That was important. Oh, you didn't ask me.
I'm just throwing this out, just from the standpoint that I would just like to know statistic-wise, how many of our kids are going into the military after college? After high school? And are we preparing those kids for it? And then there's another component I think we forget about is there's a discipline component there too. You got kids that are wearing a uniform and they're having to take pride in what they wear. And I can just remember when you had Major Sinclair and First Sergeant Davis. They had the bebop team, they had the drill teams, they had all these things. And, I can remember when ROTC was the tops in the state.
Yeah.
In our high school, and we had a lot of kids that were going into the military and they were prepared and it gave them discipline and helped instill a work ethic that, are we missing that now? I'm just posing that
Yeah.
question.
I always felt like ROTC was a good program, certainly. We do have a few that are going into the military, and I know we've got one, Miss Blanchard and I were talking today, that at class night, there'll be a military personnel there, because we've got one that's going directly after high school into the military. And they'll have cords for him to be able to wear at graduation and that kind of thing. So we're just, and we highlighted that certainly too when we had decision day. We do people going to college, we have, if they know that they're going into the military, we recognize that, as well as if they are going straight into the workforce, because we have had that come up too. And we want them to be, gainfully employed down the road, whether that's immediately after high school or after college or whatever their goal is.
I'm not trying to put you on the spot, I'm just throwing it out there.
No, and we've had some discussion about that. I've even had Donna pull some numbers as far as, what that's an expensive ticket, even though the military does pay a portion of that. It would definitely be a big commitment, and so for me, it's more of us doing some more homework. It's not a no for me, it's not a no for Nan, even Carrie Ann most likely too.
The Army, we signed you had the agreement that you, with them, and they set the salaries. And then they paid half, it was a match, we had to split it, but they would send us monthly, it may increase annually, they would have those increases, we may have to catch them up at the end of the year. But it wasn't expensive.
Yeah, and I'm also researching the different branches, to make sure we make the right call, which branch of military do we want to look into, and I guess doing a little bit of history homework as far as, because neither one of us were at the table at the time the program changed, or went away, so, just making sure we do our due diligence, but I'm glad that it's been brought up, and again, that was probably the beginning of the year, maybe even the end of last year when I had Donna pulling some numbers, so,
And it may not work the same way now, it's been several
Right,
years,
yeah.
they had some change of hands. And the last year, there was some, slackness in receiving some of the paperwork and stuff. I think they had made some adjustments with that program. But the prior years, it ran pretty smooth. It was just that last year.
Did you say it was an expensive program or was it?
The salaries, I
It
guess,
is.
that they
It's-
set
Yeah,
are.
okay, I got you.
But I mean, again, it's something we can figure out. It's just, it's making sure it's an informed decision and making sure we're ready, cause it's not just a salary, but, you know, are we ready to have a space for that? Like what's the instructional cost as far as supplies and, you know, being able to get all those things in place. So, of course, not gonna be a 26, 27 thing, but something that we could use the year to do some homework, to possibly roll out, you know, the following year based on budget and, you know, our findings.
Just
So-
throwing that out just as something to consider.
But I've had people in the community to ask me about it, and even, some
Yes.
recently graduated students who knew about ROTC. You know, our students now, there's been enough time where some of them aren't hearing, but I mean, you know, and as far as the pride in our country as well, I mean, there's just a lot to be said about that program, so.
I think ROTC, with some of the children I had at the elementary school as they went through middle school and high school, really grew leadership in a lot of those kids that, I mean, I'd never expected it, and they just did an amazing job once they, you know, got in the ROTC. And I remember presentations here at the school board that they did and made speeches and went to Rotary and all kind of stuff. And it's just, as far as leadership goes, which is kind of goes into the program we're talking about next year, you know, building leadership and a sense of belonging. I mean, I think it's, in addition to the Army piece or whatever, I think that is such a key component.
Well, that was my ticket out. 'Cause at the time- And so doing 4 years ROTC, actually, when I went into the military, at the time they had something called advancement. And so while we have 11 weeks of basic training, because I had 4 years of ROTC, I only did 11 days. And so it also increased my pay. So I left as an E3, which, you know, quickly caused me to get rank in the military.
Yeah.
But I did learn one thing. I should have listened to Major St. Clair when he said, don't volunteer for anything. But I did volunteer for a bunch of stuff in the military I probably shouldn't have.
All right.
Thank y'all. All right, anything else, Ms. Ann?
So with the board-approved
I'm
electives.
sorry, yeah.
So these are the electives that are being, introduced. The board has the option of looking at different electives and approving them for the high school, so this is only for the high school. And these would count as elective credit toward graduation. These are not core courses, they're not gonna replace any of our core courses, it's only electives. Some of this is a result of surveys with students, and students are interested in, I think SAT prep, test prep, English test prep, math on the second page. Others of these are to solve an issue that we're having with, the state is looking at transcripts for all of high school students, and they did a transcript audit for us. And, they now have this system called Palmetto Pathways, and each credit has to line up with something that is written in the course code book. If it's not written in the course book, then it needs to be a board-approved elective. So some of it is just solving an issue that we have in the system to make sure that our students get credit for every course that they take. Because we did have students enrolled in credit, they were enrolled in a course, but it wasn't necessarily a course that went through this process. So we do need to go through this process so that they get credit.
And some of these courses you approved for the current school year, last year, and we just have to
Yes.
do this every year. So we wanted to add the test prep courses as well, so if we were able to have able to make that class, it would be there and we would have that approved already.
Do you have any questions about the, proposed, electives? Seeing none, do I have a motion that we approve the, electives as noted in the, memo from Ms. Nan, or to Ms. Nan?
I'm make a motion.
Thanks, Sean. Do I have a second?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Ms. Vanessa, any comments or questions? If not, all in favor, please say aye. Thank you. Thank you.
And then, the next page, it's just information about upcoming senior events at the high school. We have senior night on Tuesday, May 26th. This is their awards ceremony for seniors. You can come to that. It doesn't require a ticket. And then the graduation ceremony, of course, and I've put some information, for board members, since you all will be on the stage.
And then we always do give each of you 2 tickets, and I do have those for you tonight.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
What time the doors open at night, graduation?
They open at 5.
They usually open at 5, yes, and close at 5:55.
Yes. Did you want to talk about this?
I'll talk about it.
Okay. And that is all I have.
All right, thank you, ma'am. All right, moving into operational report in this order.
All right, so just real quick, some summer projects, we've talked about this a little bit. We had a big summer last year with a lot of different things going on, and so, we are looking at adding a big walk-in cooler down at the elementary school, and getting rid of some of those single-standing, refrigerators. So that'll kind of be a bigger project going on there. And then we talked about last year's list. I wanted us to kind of do some things in the locker room that football and basketball use. And so that is a project we've been getting some drawings on and getting some numbers on. And so that is one of the items that I plan to propose to the county board next week, with some of their funding that they would be with construction. They would be willing to reimburse us for, so it wouldn't come out of our budget. And moving into my report, I did have a couple of things here just to really for information. I'll be sending out an invite to a ribbon cutting. Our Greenway Trail, we were approached by, and I've shared this with you before, but it's probably been about a year ago, but we were selected through the community. There's a trail at the Wellness Center, a walking track, our Viking Trail, and then Amazing Grace Park has a trail in Marion County. So in Marion and Dillon counties, those 3, the community selected those 3 as just really good, great places to go and walk and to, take families. And so we were approached by Kids in Parks, which is through the Blue Ridge Foundation, and they've identified our Viking Trail as a part of this track trail program. And so, some of you may have gone through the elementary school where one of the first entrances there's a new sign up that has 4 slots for brochures there, and it's really, really kid friendly. They can go and get brochures, and because we have a pond, kind of a retention pond on our trail, we've got a flyer about pond life, decomposition, track trails where, teaching them about finding tracks from different animals. So anyway, that foundation actually paid for the signage, installing it, and they are going to come on May 21st at 10 o'clock, and we're gonna hold a little ribbon cutting, because that will be part of a national trail program. And so, if families are researching in the area and, from Wisconsin, and they're gonna be traveling through, it may bring somebody to our area with tourism as well, but bring them to, if they are part of this program, to come and visit our trail. So, that's May 21st, again, at 10 o'clock. And again, I'll send that to you. I do want to also give you a little update. We talked briefly about partnering with Marion County School District and Dillon 4 with an aviation and aeronautics program. So Marion County has really done all the legwork on this program. They've renovated a classroom space. They've secured the grant, to pay for the simulator, the flight simulator. And they've done the work with, advertising and hiring an instructor, which will be Mr. Jerry Bullard, and he worked at our vocational center for a long time. But he is gonna be instructing that program, and so the school counselors and the principals and the superintendents have been working together. I know that they just had another meeting yesterday, so they are planning a ribbon cutting for that. I don't have that information to share with you yet, but I'll get that to you, in case you're interested in going there. And really, what they have asked is basically thirding the salary of the instructor. And so Dillon 3, Dillon 4, Marion County, we do have equal numbers of slots as far as, students to fill the slots. We've kind of talked through that, and as far as the salary goes, I know we're a lot smaller than Dillon 4 or even Marion County. But my ask, because I presented it to the county board, hoping that they would be willing to take on this annual cost for both of our districts, for the county, since they support our ATEC center. And so that meeting will be taking place next week, and I hope that, we've already had the board chair and finance department with the county board, met with Marion County as well to get some of their questions answered. So it's my hope that they'll plan to take that on, and in support of our Dillon County students. So we're really excited about that, especially with, we've got flight and space that she just mentioned at the middle school, and that's kind of been in the works for some time. And so hoping to kind of build some of that excitement and energy into moving into making that course selection. And this will be a robust program. And it's a junior and senior program, and at the end of the senior year, students can they're a completer of the program, but if they could choose to go outside of the program and get their private pilot's license, now that would be at the expense of the family, but it would give them a leg up coming out of high school, that they could go straight into that. And we've had, we've the last few, so that's gonna be fun, since we already have our own transportation challenges at times. So, but we will get that figured out. But I did want to share that with you. And I did have a faith-based community meeting with a lot of our pastors a couple weeks ago. Sean Myers was in attendance, and he did get his chicken wings.
Yes, I did.
And they were good. But I will report that was a very good meeting. Really excited about that partnership and getting some more folks involved with that. And as far as us talking about attendance and that education is, anybody can take it from you, and that's your way out. Our faith-based community is where that support's gonna come from also. When you're in the pulpit, when you're meeting with families, when they're bringing their child to you and counseling, we're having this struggle, here's the answer. We know the first answer, but here's the other answer as far as getting things in line, and families getting your priorities in order, which I guess can lead me to this next piece here. Y'all, I told you you'd get a little leader in me every time we met, and we're not going to have a meeting again until August. So what you have here is a copy of No, not yet. No, your homework is to attend, okay? And I know some of you can't, we've already talked about that, but I wanted you to go ahead and have this in case you wanted a head start. But this is the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People by Stephen Covey. And y'all probably won't believe you if I told you, but this thing has come up in multiple random situations, just the title of this book. We were doing a Bible study with my youth group, and the last session, literally a couple weeks ago, and the gentleman who's from Dillon County, and was talking about Mr. Bull Lee, if y'all remember Mr. Bull from Dillon football coach. But he said that he remembered doing a training, and somebody gave him Stephen Covey's book on the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. And he said the first exercise was, let's just pretend you're attending your own funeral. What do you want people to say about you at your own, what would you want people to say about you? And so, anyway, just kind of a segue leading into some things he was talking about, but, we are focusing on our adults next year, and I've said that multiple times. So, while we're focusing on children, we're gonna keep doing the things, all the strategic planning that they've done, but we're gonna get the minds of our teachers and the people serving our children into knowing and believing and trusting that all kids have potential. Every kid has something to offer to this world, and every kid can be a leader. And so when we're talking about goal setting, that's where that accountability piece is gonna come in. And so I'm excited to invite you to come. I did put at the bottom of this little flyer this little fancy thing I made for you. It does list the 7 habits. Aren't you proud? I've been practicing first things first with my personal children. They like to get in the car and do everything else but put their seatbelt on first. Mom, I need a snack. Can I get my lunchbox? Da, da, da. So for this week, literally, for about 3 days, I've gotten in the car and I said, okay, first things first, let's put our seatbelts on. And doggone it, if Hunter did not say it yesterday, he said, first things first, and he put that seatbelt on. So I'm just saying, that's just one little piece. But and then Sarah Lauren didn't say it, but she did put her seatbelt on. She didn't ask me for a snack. After she put her seatbelt on, she did. But anyway, if you read through these things, be proactive. Don't focus on the things that you cannot control. Focus on the things that you can. Begin with the end in mind. Decide what you want your life to be like and work backwards from there. That makes me think about what you said, Miss Joanne, about this is the way out. What do you want your life to look like? Now, what do we need to do to get there? Put first things first. Focus on the most important things in your life and don't let the unimportant things distract you. Some of the kids that we heard from in some of these school visits, they honed in on this about, I gotta put my schoolwork first. When I get home, I've gotta make sure I do that. I know I might be tired or I wanna play a video game, but I need to get that done first and then I can focus on whatever else. Think win-win. Don't try to win at the expense of others. Look for solutions that benefit everyone. Seek first to understand, then to be understood. That's a big one just in our society. Listen to others before trying to get them to listen to you. Synergize. The whole is greater than the sum of its parts. Work together with others to achieve more than you could alone, and then sharpen the saw. And this is the one that I want our people to get better at, including myself. Take time to renew yourself physically, mentally, spiritually, socially, and emotionally, because that's the whole person, the whole child. So at the very bottom, you see the save the date. So if anybody in this district does not know these dates, I do not know how, because I'm trying to communicate the best I know how. But anyway, July 29th and September 4th, that's part 1 and part 2 of this. And so I put that the location is to be determined, because once I hear from you that you would like to come, and even if you say I can't come to one, but I can come to the second one, then you just have to read the other part that you missed, but I'd love to have you join us. I know you're having some surgery, but I want you to have this, and feel free. If you can't make it, that's fine. But if you'll let me know that you can attend or would like to attend, we'll assign you a place to go. And you may prefer a certain school to go with. So that's up to you. But we're looking forward to having that. All right. You have one page here that Sandy included with her. It's not stapled in her packet, but it's an email from Crystal Huckabee. I'm not going to read this, but I just wanted to give our district a shout out here. We had a nice person from the State Department come to the middle school on the very first day of testing, and I think it was announced the week before that she was coming. And not that she was coming in a intimidating role, but really just to come and kind of see how the procedures were working, kind of what we had in place. And I think that she would have said this if she had gone to Latta Elementary, Latta Middle, or Latta High School. But she said, I would like to sincerely thank you and your team for welcoming me into your district and Latta Middle School during the window. I truly appreciate the professionalism, hospitality, and openness extended to me throughout my visit. So, and she goes on to talk about the strong culture in the building and the respectful nature between adults and students. And that it was productive and meaningful. So I wanted to share that. I wanted to brag on Sandy as our chief academic officer, brag on the schools for, and our counselors for working really hard to make sure that we do all these things the right way. Sandy, did you have anything to add on that? Okay, good.
They do great.
They did. Legislative updates. I'd love to say I have a lot of things to offer you there, but I don't. I do think that the 12-week maternity leave, maybe it become a mute subject for this legislative session, so we may have at least another year before that comes back up, which, would be a blessing, because the thought of we just had a conversation about 6 weeks or 8 weeks out, so 12 weeks that could become 15 from a teacher being out of the classroom. That's a lot. Or even an administrator being out of his or her building. Ms. Weatherford, did you have any other legislative items to add there?
I don't think so, cause you got on the mobile panic alert. So
Yeah.
That was the new one.
So, anything that does come down the pipe, y'all know August, September is a little heavy on policy, and we'll be going through those model policies and updates there. And then with the foundation, just wanted to let you know that we did receive a significant donation to go towards our upper elementary playground that we're trying to start at the elementary school. Adding a basketball court with top of the line goals and a picnic shelter area out there to kind of be phase one. And so we've got a donor who sent us a significant check to take care of that. So we're looking forward to that being one of our summer projects. And then the Mr. Carlton Calder's house, if you know that name, it's 3 doors down. So we got our 2 teacher houses that are right here, and then the brick house on the other side of that. He passed away over a year ago, and so they're trying to clear up his estate, and so that property has become available. And we were able to get it under contract before it even went on the market. And so the proceeds from that in his will are that they would go to St. Jude, every dime that, so we're pleased with the asking price, and we do have a donor who is going to foot the bill for that house, to the tune of $132,000. So, very gracious, and we have we've done the home inspection, and we have some renovations that we'll be doing to get that place up to where it needs to be. It was very well taken care of, just aged. So doing some updates there, and then having that as district personnel housing. We will focus on teachers, but since we're adding something else, if there is a need in the district, all of our other housing is really focused on teachers, but we've had some other people reach out to ask about housing that may be an instructional assistant or someone at the district office, and just different situations. So looking forward to that. We may already have someone who wants to move in there once we get it renovated. So I say renovated, it's not a huge overhaul, but anyway, so we're excited about that. Any questions about anything that I've shared? All right, thank you.
All right, new business personnel updates.
Okay, we just have a couple things here. I don't think we mentioned Shamata Davis as a new LMS teacher at our last meeting, so she will be coming in and teaching 6th grade. And what subject does that remind me?
Math and science.
Okay, 6th grade math and science, and she's coming to us from Dillon 4. Great reference on her. And then at the last meeting, we shared that we still had some contracts out. So Holly Edwards and Megan Dew, our speech language pathologists, they are both moving to another district. And so I'm recommending Kristen Townsend and Courtney Seeley was Courtney Bracy, a Latta graduate. And Kristen Townsend was Kristen Busey. Some of you all may know her as well. She taught in Dillon for a while and now is receiving her speech certification. So I would also add Kendra Timney coming to us from Spartanburg, and they're not strangers to the area. She and her husband have done some work at Camp Pine Hill before, but she is being recommended to teach 6th grade as well. And then a couple of retirees, Miss Tina White, who was a longtime bus driver with us, Clementine White. She, for health reasons, she's not going to be able to return to us. And then Miss Janice McLeod is finishing up year 55. And what is that?
56.
56. Okay, so, and I tell you, she's still a spring chicken. She outruns some of these folks. So, anyway, we're gonna definitely be celebrating them. And because Miss Tina was our aide on bus 14, which is our special ed bus, and so Bridget Locklear she's an assistant in the special ed at the middle school. She's been able to pick up that morning route and ride, and then we've got a part-time cafeteria worker, Miss Sheila Johnson, is riding in the afternoon, and that is just working like clockwork. And I know Mr. Larry is glad he doesn't have to be the bus aide anymore. And then I'll just also add that, we did not approve winter sports contracts, so those recommendations have been made. There are really no changes here. Chris Page, head varsity boys basketball. Bobby Richardson, varsity girls basketball. Tony McCray and Rihanna Green continue as assistant girls basketball coaches. Malcolm Short, Clint Brown, and Chris Westbrook continue as assistant boys basketball coaches. And typically the boys have 3 teams and the girls have 2 teams since we've added B teams. So that's why the boys have an additional staff member. So I just recommend these to you all, and if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer.
Any questions? Seeing none, do I have a motion that we approve the personnel actions as noted by Ms. Hart?
I make a motion.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
I say,
Thank you. Any discussion? If not, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Very good. Thank you. Anything else?
We can just go into executive session real quick.
Well, I'll declare that we are in recess for a couple of minutes, so that our staff can get home at a decent hour.
And I promise this will not take long.
And then we will resume with our executive session.
Yeah.